we'll go ahead and get started. My recording's on. Okay. So again, thanks for joining us today. My name is Mary Schreier. I'm the Autism Supervisor for Community Mental Health for Central Michigan. And our autism team, the behavior analysts that we have on our team, have all been working the last several weeks to create this support group to kind of help offer support to families and to parents, and then as well as, I know several of you are, you also work with families and your providers in your own right, so giving you guys a little more guidance. And I think all of us at this time are appreciating any resources we can get. I know I sure am. So hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. So today our topic is empowering parents. So it's going to be more about some tools to help take care of yourself as a parent, as well as taking care of the children. So I think even though the title is really empowering, it's almost more of taking care of parents. So that's kind of where we're going today. We will have behavior analyst Sarah McDonald from Midland will be helping us out, and Megan Waddell also, she's in our Midland office, and Travis Van Osten, he's a behavior analyst based in our Big Rapids office. So just real quick, those of you who don't know too, the Community Mental Health for Central Michigan covers 6 counties. So our team kind of works with families and kids with autism in all 6 counties, which is Isabella, Gladwin, Clare, Midland, Mecosta, and Osceola. I always have to go through that, but so that's kind of what we are. We will get started, and just again, quick housekeeping. If you have any questions, feel free to send a message, and we will be checking in the chat box. So feel free to, at any time kind of mention something. We will also take time at the end for more questions too. So feel free to participate there. So, all right, Travis is going to get us going. We're going to start with a video. Actually, all right, yeah, go ahead, start with the video.
Good now. Come on. I hear you too, Mama. You're right there. You're fine. Why are you crying, Mama? 'Cause I'm happy.
All right, I'm going to kick us off and we're going to start out focusing on the strengths and challenges that we often face. I really would like to start out with strengths. A lot of times when I talk with parents at the beginning of an assessment, when we start services and throughout our check-ins, I like to ask parents what their child's strengths are. A lot of times these come from character traits to academics, hobbies, and skills that they have. Starting with strengths, so many times we can build off strengths and use that as a springboard for building new skills and also to help with behavior reduction. It's important when you find strengths that you verbalize what you see your kids doing, but I think it's also important for parents to focus in on what their strengths are. So one parent might be not so much into having their kids get messy, where another person might be more easygoing and relaxed and don't care if their kids get in the mud. Or say another person might be more organized and that's where their skill set is. So I think as parents, it's important to focus in on what our strengths are and use also that as a springboard to help build our kids' skills. And then also helps us give a little break on ourselves. We can't be strong in all areas, but we can use our strengths to really play up our kids' strengths as well. So the current strengths that our kids have, we can use those to build up additional skills. So one area, a lot of kids that we see, and I think across the board, kids have a lot of determination. So we can use determination that kids have and really play that skill up by building problem solving. So we can do that in so many different ways, but I feel like that's where you can say, my kid's so good at determination, so building those problem solving skills is something we could tackle, focusing on their strength. Okay, so the strengths can come in all kinds, like I talked about with strength of character. Some kids are especially kind to others, they're determined, sense of humor, attention to detail. Some are really good at academics with math, reading, writing, music, or art. Some kids, their strengths lie in their hobbies, where their special interest, creating things, discovering how things work. And I think it's important that we look at kids' strengths even at a young age and consider how we might develop those skills so that they can even contribute to vocational skills, that they can engage in a meaningful career. Thinking about the movie clip we watched, it would be so easy to look at, the blindness that this little boy had to carry throughout his life and how that you would feel like that's so debilitating. But I liked even in the 2-minute clip we watched, we could see so many strengths that he possessed and that his mom really helped pull out of him. Ones that I noticed were communication, his ability to verbalize what he needed. He had determination, curiosity, situational awareness, his sense of touch, hearing, and even his emotional awareness, asking his mom if she was sad or he could hear that she was crying. So those are a lot of strengths that he can play off of as he grew older to engage in a meaningful life. I think of a strength also that you can play out. An example would be my daughter enjoys working in the kitchen with me, so I can play off that strength by helping her to, learn how to follow directions, safety skills, and counting colors, that kind of thing. She's just 3, so she's still getting into those kind of basic skills. And the flip side of that, we also want to look at our kids' challenges and pinpoint key areas that are holding our kids back. So many kids that we work with, they have a difficulty with toleration, building toleration skills, and whether your kid has special needs or is typical, I feel like toleration is really a tricky one to overcome. But it's important to think we don't have to conquer the mountain in one day. We can take baby steps to shape up what that means. So we use shaping a lot while we work with kids, and that is just starting small. So one area I would like to focus on is even starting with an area that's neutral. So another example for my daughter is she loves popsicles. And usually they come in flavors of 3, lime, lemon, and orange. So if I'm working on teaching her toleration skills, maybe I wouldn't go with an extreme situation, but maybe something that's neutral, where she might say, I want an orange popsicle. And I could say, you know what, those are gone, but how about a lime or a lemon? So that would be an area that's neutral. You can give a situation that she's likely to be successful, and then you can reinforce. And gradually we'd increase that. We don't have popsicles, but you could have a cheese stick instead. Something that's not quite so similar, not quite so preferred, but building up toleration that way. Let's see, another thing I like to think about with challenges is that sometimes we can turn challenges into strengths. So maybe you might say somebody is paranoid or anxious looking around them. Well, we could say they're aware, or they're situationally aware, looking at just being aware of what's going on around them. Another thing would be just to celebrate even the smallest victory. So when your child does tolerate even the smallest things that they might not typically tolerate, have a party about it and really reinforce that.
There we go. Okay, so we've been talking about these strengths and challenges with our kids, but as we're thinking about those, we often are then thinking about our dreams for them and kind of the person that we imagine them becoming. But I want you to take some time today to think about your own values and dreams and what your heart's desires are. It's hard to think about values, but really kind of what you stand for. They're how you would ideally want to behave. We can think of values as an inner compass, something that helps us get where we're going, helps us set that direction. And then when we inevitably fall off track, helps us find our way back and get back to what is important and that direction that we really want to get to. So some key points about values that I wanted to touch on are values are really more about here and now, where goals are in the future. So we might have values that we might neglect for a while, kind of put on the back burner, but they're always there. So we can grab them and kind of act on those values. But goals are always, you're looking at the future. They're not now. We're working towards that. And then once it's met, it's no longer a goal. So it's always that down the road. I like to think of values as more like the journey. So if we're thinking of it as like the compass or even an atlas, it's the journey, it's the big picture, whereas the goals are those steps to get there or the destination that we're trying to get to. Values never need justification. So just like it doesn't, you don't have to tell somebody, explain why you like a certain taste in music or why you prefer the orange popsicle. You shouldn't have to justify or explain why these particular values are important to you. It's your personal thing. But with that too, values often need to be prioritized and shifted from, different points in your life. At different stages, we're going to find different things that are more valuable and that that are a higher priority for us. So I think about parents. I think everyone can remember the time when they held their newborn and just you feel like your whole world is shifted because suddenly values have changed of what is the most important to you. Before you become a parent, you don't necessarily see those same values in the same way. So as we age and get into different environments, different situations, they will change, and then we need to shift them to prioritize. But knowing that they are always changing as we grow too, it's good to hold those kind of lightly, to not really fuse with them, to not let them govern us. Values are not rules. They just guide us and kind of, again, give us that roadmap, but we can choose our road on that map. Values are freely chosen. So along the same lines of not needing to justify, you also are able to choose your own values. Someone might recommend things to you as a value that, maybe family life or good health, things like that are values, but it's all up to you if that is important to you. And while it might be important today, it might not be important later. I think about some of the values that my parents have that are different for me, and I don't value, have the same exact values. And I see the same thing with my kids. So it is, again, something that we choose. And then the final thing is just that values really are about ourselves and how we are interacting with others. So it is about us behaving as the sort of person that we want to be and how we want others to experience us. So just some key points there. So the trying to kind of articulate what your values are and, determine what those are can really be a big challenge. I think of it like asking someone, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or even asking your child, what did you do in school today? So many times it's hard to give a clear answer, or you might just give the rote answer that you always give. I want to be a teacher, or, we did this or that. But with values, again, it can be, having a good family, having time with my family is a value. But to be able to actually use some of these exercises can help bring it down to figuring out really what is the big values for you. So here's just a few of the exercises that I wanted to touch on that you can then take later and do these yourself if you want. And obviously you can always find other values exercises, but childhood dreams is the first one. So kind of thinking back to when you were a child and imagining, thinking about what did you imagine your future life to be like? What were some of your hopes and dreams? And then kind of with that, the missing out. What important dreams have you given up or felt like you missed out on in life? And I look at that not as much as a negative, a sad thing that I've missed out, as much as, okay, what has changed from what I had hoped for, and how can I move forward from that? So looking at like the childhood dreams, I think about when I was a teenager and I'd hoped to live in New York and be a writer. Well, those dreams didn't come true, but I don't dwell on that. I think about, okay, well, what was it about wanting to live in New York that was important to me at the time? I think it was experiencing different cultures and being around other people. Well, I do that with traveling. I can do that by reading books, watching movies. So there's other ways that I can touch on that. So the value is more about experiencing other cultures. And then also the writing. Okay, so what was important to me about writing? I think it was more about having a way to be creative and express myself. Again, I have other ways to do that. So being able to kind of look at what are those things you want, and then why is it, and get into that. What is the value there? The next one, the proud parent. So thinking about what sort of relationships do you want with your children? How do you want to treat others in your family? Or even how would you want others to treat you from your family? This one can be kind of tricky, but it's interesting. Disapproval. So this really kind of makes you take perspective. But what are some of the actions you see in others that you don't like? And then how would you act differently if you were in their shoes? And then kind of on the other side of that same coin of role models, think about people that you really look up to, and what strengths or qualities do they have that you admire, and what qualities do you then want to inspire in others? And then the last one, the what matters. Really, what matters in your big picture? What do you want to be? What do you want to stand for? What do you want to be remembered as? So I think we're going to go into goals, but just before Megan takes over, I'm just going to mention that, so think about, as you do your values exercises, kind of think about a couple major ones. Maybe pick one or two that will really motivate you and inspire actions, and that will help you pick some goals that the goals should help you to reach those values. So go ahead, Megan.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about goals. Goal is something that you can complete. So we want to go back to our values and ask, what can I do to move closer to these values? What actions can I take to live the life that I value? We might have long-term goals, which might include improving our children's health or emotional states, making it possible for our kids to go more places or do more things, giving our children more independence to make their own choices, enhancing or expanding their friendships and other relationships, or improving our family life in general. And when we're writing our goals, we want to make sure that we're writing SMART goals. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Specific means we want to make sure we're specifically focusing on a behavior. Instead of saying, I want my child to be more independent, we might say, I want my child to do his own laundry. So we want to really be specific in what we're targeting. Measurable, how would we break down the behavior to show improvement? This is important because it shows us our progress and it helps us keep going on and keep trying for more. Attainable, what are the steps to achieve this goal? We want to make sure that we're setting goals that aren't easy, but they're not such a high challenge that it's almost impossible to achieve. We want to make sure our goals are relevant, that we're able to perform and follow through on the goal. So for example, I've been wanting to spend more time with my kids at home, and it was really difficult before trying to mix work and our home life together. But now with the quarantine, it's kind of given us an opportunity to, well, now I can really follow through on some of my goals with my kids. Time-bound, setting a date, that's also important because it gives us something to strive for and to look forward to. And go to that next page there. This is just an example. So if our long-term goal is being more present with my child, one action step could be I will engage in one-to-one play with my child for 5 minutes every day for 7 consecutive days. It's very specific, but it helps you stick to it. Another action step might be I will ask my child 2 questions about school every evening for 5 consecutive days. And another, I will give my child behavior-specific praise 2 times every day for 7 consecutive days. And Mary had a great idea for this one, actually. I think you said it was cotton balls. You had a family that had a jar, and every time they would give a specific praise, they would move the cotton ball to the jar. Was that how it went? Yeah, I love that idea. It kind of puts it right there for you to visually see that you're making progress towards your goal and towards your values. And just making sure that you're taking small steps. And if you feel like it's too much, so for example, these 3 action steps might be too much, then just reduce them to 1 or 2. Just go at a pace that makes you feel comfortable and like you can really achieve something.
Yeah, so Megan talked about creating goals and how to create those goals and how to set up goals, write your own goals. And I really want to talk about setting up your success with these goals and then reinforcing those successes. Before I get into that, I wanted to quickly talk about big goals and possible discouragement that comes along with them. I think we've all been there where we identify an area in our life where we want to see behavior change, and we create this really big goal. It's usually around New Year's Eve for a resolution, and we get really excited and pumped up about it, and then it goes well for a couple of weeks, and then we hit this plateau, and the discouragement sets in, and we give up on that goal. And a lot of us have heard that, that quote or that motto, go big or go home. I've kind of went into goals with that mindset before, and it really hasn't worked out for me. So I'm not sure if that's really the right approach. But that being said, there's nothing wrong with having big goals, but these large, long-term goals have downsides too. They can set us up for failure if we set these goals that are too big to achieve, or if we don't break them down and work towards them systematically. So go big or go home. I don't know, but I like a different motto, maybe think big and execute small. So why should you be setting smaller goals? Well, every success is achieved through baby steps. Every big success is achieved through numerous small steps. There's no shortcut to it. You know, I thought of the goal of weight loss, maybe. That's a really big goal for a lot of people. It kind of is in line with a lot of people's value of wanting to be healthier and maybe have more energy to play with their children. So maybe that goal is to like lose 30 pounds in a year. And that goal is so far in the future that it can be really hard to stay engaged with that goal without breaking it down into baby steps that we can work on it in a daily basis. So it's easier to focus on what we can do today than to focus on what we can do in a year. So you think of the goal of weight loss, you know, think about something we can do today, maybe like starting with eating a healthier breakfast or walking a mile today. And then once we get that mastered, that baby step mastered, we move on to the next step. Another reason why we should be setting smaller goals is that we contact reinforcement more frequently and build confidence. The progress or the small wins are what give you confidence and grow your beliefs that you can do it. Self-efficacy is our confidence in our own abilities. So basically our confidence either increases or decreases based on our ability to make progress. I was talking to our behavior techs in the ABA program recently about contacting reinforcement and like setting up programs with our children where they're getting reinforced more and they're building confidence and momentum. And I use the example of my high school basketball playing days, which was many, many moons ago. But I had the tendency to, if I missed my first couple shots, I'd kind of shut down and start passing up open shots and pass the ball too much. And my coaches kind of came together with me and said, you know, why don't you just drive to the lane and get a nice easy layup to start the game, or, you know, get fouled and make some free throws. And it really was a good approach for me, and it helped. Kind of getting some of those easy baskets early on kind of gave me that confidence and momentum to take a more difficult shot later in the game. And another reason to set smaller goals is that small and tiny goals promote action. I came across a really cool study by Columbia University, and basically it was a coffee reward program. And there was two groups of people, and they both had this coffee reward card. So in the first group of people, when they bought 10 coffees, they got their next one free. And then the second group of people, they bought 12 cups of coffee, and then they got the next one free. But the catch was, with that second group, they started out with 2 freebies or 2 tokens already on the card. And that second group made much more progress and bought coffee at a way faster rate than the first group. And it was hypothesized that that second group perceived themselves as already making progress towards their goals. So they bought coffee at a faster rate, trying to get to that goal. When people see progress, they tend to work harder to reaching their goal. So when you make progress, you feel motivated to take even more action to reach your goal. Another cool thing about that study is that showed that in both groups, when they got closer to that free cup of coffee, when, you know, later on they're buying more coffee and they're getting closer and closer to that free cup, they started to buy the coffee at a quicker rate. And I thought that was really interesting too, to see that. So the things we'll do for a free cup of coffee. Lastly, I wanted to talk about just really reinforcing the little successes. So while working to attain your goal, don't forget to pause and celebrate the little victories along the way. And there's our friends Calvin and Hobbes. We're so busy watching out for what's just ahead of us that we don't take time to enjoy where we are. Yeah, I just really wanted to emphasize just taking that moment to pause and celebrate the little successes, the little victories with ourselves and with our children. We may not have reached that big end goal, but it's still very important to pause and celebrate any progress at all.
Cool. So we've been thinking about our values and setting reasonable goals to help reach those values, but there are times where it definitely just feels too hard to make even the smallest effort. And we need to remember to be kind to ourselves. So I'm encouraging you, encouraging myself, the staff, everybody, let's give ourselves a break and be kind. You know, it's sometimes we know what we want, we've set the goal, we even have a great plan of how to get there, but it takes a huge step of courage. I think about, you know, Travis mentioned about the weight loss and my own value of health, of being in better shape and wanting to go out and take walks. And the thought of even putting on my shoes some days is just too much. So it's reality that sometimes it's too hard. So let's have compassion. Go ahead, Travis. So there's some building blocks of self-compassion that I want to just kind of touch on with all of you. The first one is to acknowledge the wound, be human, disarm the critic, hold yourself kindly, make room for your pain, and see yourself in others. So really, it's human to feel pain. You know, we're all going to feel pain at some times. We're all going to feel the fear and the stress, but it's okay to feel it. Oftentimes, we might try unhealthy ways to try to avoid it or distract ourselves or numb the pain. But if we can recognize it, notice the pain, feel it, and name it, rather than trying to avoid it or escape it, we're going to, in the long run, be more kind to ourselves and have more self-compassion. By feeling those feelings, that's just a sign of being human. Everybody has painful thoughts and feelings. It's not a sign of being weak. It's not a sign that I can't handle it. It's a reminder that we are human. So when you do find yourself thinking some of those stressful, painful thoughts, I encourage you to maybe remind yourself, hey, thanks, mind. That's right, I'm human. And just like everybody else. And this is a sign that I care. So we definitely all have the critic, though. There's, you know, we'll beat ourselves up. Even the people who seem like they've got it all together, you know, they've got that critic too. You know, we might be telling ourselves we're not strong enough. Other people have it more difficult than we do. I shouldn't be so pathetic. I only have myself to blame. You know, all of these negative talk things will be coming through. But we need to give ourselves a break and take the power out of that harsh self-criticism. And again, it can be, you know, you're getting those thoughts and then, all right, yep, that's me being human again, but I can move aside from that. I don't have to get stuck in that. So with that, we want to hold ourselves kindly. The value of kindness is the foundation of self-compassion. So I think we all need kindness all of the time, but especially right now. And, you know, whenever life is difficult, when we're in pain, we're scared, we don't know what the future is bringing us, but we need to make sure that we are being kind to ourselves as well as those around us. Treat ourselves with support and understanding, and really think about treating ourselves with loving kindness of both our inner selves and our physical selves. And finally, we want to make room for that pain. So again, we will recognize the pain, name it, you know, allow ourselves to feel it. And that itself is an act of self-kindness. Instead of trying to push it away or ignore it, the more that we can accept the feelings and then maybe have them sitting here, you know, having a space for them. They are a part of us. They are a part of us being human. But acknowledging they are there will help us move forward to reaching our values. And then just remember, we all have it. Again, it is a piece of being human, is that we all feel pain. We struggle, we suffer, we worry. Some of us are, having some of the same worries. Others might be having pain that we can't relate to, but everyone feels pain as a part of being a human. So again, you can look at the world and know we are not alone. So final thing I want to do is an ACT exercise. ACT stands for Acceptance and Commitment Therapy or Training. And it's very useful with helping us get in touch with things. So this is a mindfulness about that self-compassion. And so I just like to take a few minutes to go through this and see how you do with it. I gotta find it. So I would ask you just get comfortable. If you're in a chair, maybe lean forward slightly or straighten your back. Drop your shoulders, press your feet gently onto the floor. If you're lying down, maybe stretch out your legs and shift into a more comfortable position. Feel free to close your eyes or just pick a place to look at to focus on. Now I want you to think about something that you're struggling with or worried about. Take a few moments to think about this issue. What has happened? What are you worried about? How is it affecting you? How do you feel about the thoughts that are coming to the surface? Now notice if there's a place in your body where you feel the pain or sensation that comes up as the thoughts and the feelings come up. Notice it as if you're discovering it for the first time, like you're a child and you're just noticing this pain. Where is it and what is it like? Or maybe you feel nothing. Maybe you just feel numb. I want you to take one of your hands now and turn it upward, palm upward. Think about the times you've used this hand in kind ways. Maybe you've held the hand of a loved one in pain, or rubbed his back, or given her a supportive hug. Maybe you've used this hand to cuddle and rock a crying baby, or gently wash a newborn's fuzzy head. Or maybe you've used this hand to help a friend with a difficult task, move to a new home, or cook a favorite meal. See if you can fill this hand now with some of that same sense of caring, that kindness, that support. Imagine filling it with warm, kind energy. Maybe you can picture that energy. Maybe it's a glowing orb, or maybe you feel that energy as kindness. Now I want to invite you to take your hand that is filled with the kindness that you've given to others and place it on yourself, on that place where you feel the pain. Or if you feel numb, place your hand wherever you feel most in need of love and kindness. Allow your hand to rest there, lightly and gently. Feel it against your skin or against your clothes. Feel the warmth flowing from your palm into your body and spreading in all directions. Wherever you find an area of pain or tightness or tension, let that warm, kind energy infuse into it. Imagine your body softening around this discomfort, loosening up, softening, and making space. Hold your pain or numbness very gently. Hold it as if it is a crying baby or a new puppy or a prized gift. Infuse this gentle action with caring and warmth, just as if you are reaching out to someone you care about. Let the kindness flow from your fingers into your body. And as you rest in this space of warmth and kindness, take a moment to consider that this pain or numbness is part of being human. It's not a sign of something wrong with you. It's a sign that you are a living, caring human being. This is what living, caring humans feel when life is difficult. We hurt or we shut ourselves down and go numb. This is something we have in common with every living human on the planet. It's a part of who you are, a part of being human, and a part of having a heart. The next time you hear the critic in your head, or you feel the pain from your worries and stress, I invite you to take your gentle hand and treat yourself kindly. Now I welcome you to come back and open your eyes when you're comfortable. And I'd just like to encourage you to maybe go off mute if you'd like to share how that worked for you, if what your thoughts are, how that, if you have any feelings from it. I think we can, Travis, I think you can close the shared screen. Anyone want to share how it made you feel? Or if you think this could be helpful? Yeah, Annette.
Yeah, it was interesting. My co-teacher had texted me just as you put up the screen that said Disarm the Critic. And she says, I haven't listened to our Zoom recordings. Do I always sound so horrible? What can I do to fix it? Why does my hair look gray? And so I clicked the picture of Disarm the Critic, and then and she laughed at herself.
Good.
And then
Yeah.
I said, so we need to be kind to ourselves. So I guess when I was shutting my eyes and thinking, and I said, yeah, it's pretty easy to point it out in someone else, but how do I do that in myself? And
Absolutely. Yeah.
but I just want you to say you hit more than 2 people here. Yeah.
Excellent. That's so cool. Good. Anyone else? Any thoughts of when you might be able to use this exercise too?
I find this is Priska Gamble,
Uh-huh.
and thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Yes, yeah, and you know, I was listening to the different presenters, and I really liked this developing compassion and how human it is to feel pain and you know exercise. I guess your soothing voice was. I think that was best for me, really. I did do the exercise, but I found myself so soothed, and it's as if I needed it, you know, and I know I needed it.
Good.
Yes.
We did too.
Yeah, we plan on traveling to our daughters, and I feel
Oh, wow.
yes. She's going to have a little one, the young one, and there's a little bit of anxiety, and they're far away, and so I think it was very helpful for me personally. Just your soothing voice and ability to just close my eyes for a moment.
Yeah.
I think that portion about taking care of yourself is very helpful. A lot of us fall into that boat, and especially at this time, I find myself doing a lot of work from the home front and feel like, gosh, I still could be doing more, and I have no
Exactly.
you know, I just need to sometimes remind myself, and this is helpful. Thank you, Mary.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Yeah. I know personally, I have used this, and I will sometimes think about, you know, I will feel my tension in my chest or something. And if I think about, okay, if this was my child, I would be giving them a back rub, or I would, you know, if it was my dad, I would be rubbing his hand. So do that to myself, and it helps me just take that few minutes to relax and breathe and remember to kind of ground me and bring me back to, okay, I've got a lot of things to worry about, but they're in the distance. I can't deal with it right now, so let me just be here. So. Any other comments from anyone? Not even necessarily on that exercise, but just in general, how are things going and stuff? Are you feeling, I guess I'm wondering how people are feeling about the thoughts of getting back to, trying to look at coming back to a normal, you know, obviously we all know it's going to be a different normal, but how are you feeling about that? That's what is in my head a lot lately. So I'm just curious. Yeah, Nat.
I'm a preschool teacher, and right now I feel like that my physical hugging, giving kids kisses on top of the head, it won't be that way next fall, and I'm grieving for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also grieving because I'm kind of missing out at the end of the school year and probably going to retire or morph into something else. But right now, I feel like it's the care and feeding of our families, or care and feeding of my parents' souls.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are so lost right now, and I get text messages and emails and their anxiety. And when Midland Public went on, finally, I guess, went on teaching online, they were so anxious about attending our Zoom meetings or the weekly challenges. And I feel like I'm trying to help my parents and give them as many tools as they can, but that's been on my mind the most lately. Mm-hmm. Is that they don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm. And I think with that too, yeah, we're all trying to give them a lot of tools and support, but then reminding them to, again, take small steps into, you know, give themselves a break, which I think that's that balance too of, you know, feeling like I should be doing more and that beating ourselves up. So I think the more we can remind everyone around us that, you know what, give yourself a little break and set a little goal. You know, don't just give up on everything. Put on your shoes today, Mary, and go outside. You know, but, yeah. So good. I think we've got a great community here. A lot of people who are really working hard for parents. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for all of you who've been joining us in these Zoom sessions. I'm not sure if we even have any parents today that are here just as parents, but I think we all are able to share this. And we are definitely having people watch the recordings, which I encourage you to share them with others too. I guess before we get off, are there any other comments or requests for future topics or anything from any of you?
Personally, I think you guys are right on target, and you have a great team, and I'm not just saying that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's very well presented and orderly and coherent. I liked Miss what McDonald had to say regarding strengths of children. You know, focusing on people's strengths, and following your inner compass, the value aspect. You know, sometimes that is really confused. With goals, as you rightly put it. Megan and Travis. I like the baby steps, Travis. Of course, we talk about it a lot. So just as you're saying, if we can go one, sometimes just one moment at a time, especially at this time, just a chance to breathe, like you had us breathe, Mary, a while ago. You know, I felt I really needed that, just to be quiet for a moment and breathe. It was just soothing to me.
Good.
So
Good.
thank you again to all of you.
You are
Thank
welcome.
Yes.
So next
And
week,
I think there's a parent last week I told about that, and some have watched your YouTube.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. Next week is going to be more about working with other agencies and about, you know, kind of advocating for your kids. So working with schools and other agencies. And so we've got Jen here from Autism Alliance of Michigan, and she's going to be joining us again next week as well to answer questions that anyone might have. She's a navigator, which I give you guys a lot of credit because they get questions from people all over the state asking for advice. And it's, you know, specific to autism, but they touch on the resources of so many needs of families. So we will have that next week. And then I think we're probably going to keep going with just some new topics going on after this. So I really appreciate you all being here. And hopefully you can, if you're having a moment that's difficult in this next week, maybe you can remember some of what we talked about today.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If you guys do continue this, is this something that will need to be signed up for, or is it something that, I mean, can be shared with me just so I can use it as a resource if families, you know, I mean, I guess I wouldn't have to only send families from Central Michigan either.
Anywhere.
Yep. So any of our families that call, we can just link them to this. So if you can just maybe with all those as they continue, that would be beneficial also.
Absolutely. Yes. And as we have the recordings get up, last week it took an extra day to get it up, but as we do, I'll send you the link. I try to remember to send those out, and I'll send the PowerPoints too.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'll share that with all the other navigators then too.
Awesome. Cool.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Thank you all. Have a good week.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.